Welcome back to another episode of Cape Ann Today. As summer of 2023 ends, I am speaking to the Executive Director of Backyard Growers, Alison DiFiore. Alison has some very exciting breaking news about next summer's growing season, the backyard growers, the city of Gloucester, and a very special neighborhood. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Heather. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. I'm going to let you make the announcement.
All right. So we're so excited to announce that Backyard Growers, in partnership with the city of Gloucester, is going to be launching a brand new farmers market coming in 2024.
It's so wonderful. Okay, so tell us everything. And what I
Yes,
would say, it's not going to be at Stage Fort Park.
it's not going to be a Stageford Park. So the market is actually going to be held at Burnham's Field in the heart of downtown Gloucester, which we are just thrilled about. It's a neighborhood that we do a lot of work in. We have a lot of community program participant members that live there. We have 2 community gardens at Burnham's Field. So for us, this, is a home that we're excited to extend our impact within. Burnham's Field most of you probably know Burnham's Field has been revitalized significantly, like over the past 10 years. And it's really a vibrant part of our city. There's a lot of parking, which I know is a thing people are going to ask about. It's really walkable for a lot of folks, and it's close to the train station as well. And so we're thrilled to be having a farmer's market there.
And there's a great playground there too.
Yeah, I know. I'm a parent, so I'm excited about the idea of my kids playing on the playground, while I'm at the market. And yeah, it's a really vibrant place. So we're just really, really thrilled that's where we're hosting it. And for us, again, we have 2 community gardens there. And so the market's going to be kind of nestled between the area, like between those 2 community gardens. And so it's sort of like a physical extension of the work that we've been doing in the Burnham's neighborhood.
Yeah. So I think St. Anne's is at one end of
Yep.
Burnsfield, right? And then it's homes and neighborhood all the way around the other 3 sides, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, and so a lot of folks, if you don't live in that neighborhood, you might not go there very often, right? Unless you're on like a softball team or something like that. And so I'm also really excited about bringing more people to Burnham's Field. It's really kind of like a gem of the city at this point. Every time I go there, our gardens, especially this time of year, like the gardens are beautiful. There are kids playing on the playground. There's families riding bikes. There's folks playing softball and soccer. And it's just a really wonderful place to be. And I think the farmers market just feels like a natural extension of all the things that are already happening right there.
Yeah, yeah. It really, I think it's just feels like a perfect fit and just what you think of as a city farmers market. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
the connecting to all those homes. And as you said, people can walk there, which
Mhm.
has never been the case in Stage Park, except a few
Yes.
parkings there. Yeah.
I know. And I will continue to stress this because I think that people really worry about parking all the time in Gloucester, but the parking lot at the end of Sargent Street is actually quite large. And so it's not lined right now. But our estimate is that about 40 cars can fit there, which is pretty good for parking in Gloucester. There's also a lot of street parking available as well. So we're thrilled about it. I think, again, it just feels like a natural next step, a natural location, like in so many ways.
Well, to that point, the Backyard Growers was born in a farmer's market, right?
Yep.
The Cape
Mhm.
Ann Farmers Market. And you have been doing such amazing work for the past 10 years, really, with helping people learn how to grow their own food, helping them actually grow their own food, and students in schools learning about the process of growing food, but you haven't run a farmer's market yet. So
Yeah.
so that so those 2 things exist at once, where you are sort of the leaders in uh working with schools and communities and how to do this, but this is a big step, right? So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think there's 2 things. So Backyard Growers' mission is to cultivate healthy, connected, resilient communities and to fight for food sovereignty. And the way that we've historically done that is by providing people with the resources and knowledge to grow their own food. And this is a new way that we're going to do that. It's sort of a new way that we're working in the realm of food access on Cape Ann. So that, to me, again, it is something that feels like a natural next step for us. We're an established but still pretty young organization. And so we're always looking for ways that we can deepen our impact on Cape Ann. And this just felt like a really obvious one because people want it. It feels really good to respond to a need that has been expressed to us. I also really see our organization as a great facilitator or a great connector of resources. And this is another way that we're doing that. And so we're really viewing the opportunity to manage the farmers market as a way to create and provide a public platform, for food access, for public education, for all of these things that we're so excited about. On a personal level, my background is in social justice, but also in sustainable agriculture and small business. And so I'm very familiar with farmers markets here and kind of all around the country. And so this is something that I'm just like, the organization is excited. And again, on like a personal level is something that I feel really, really thrilled to take on. And I think Backyard Growers is poised perfectly to do it. And we've just been having a wonderful partnership with the city around this so far. I think, that has been a really positive experience. And our hope and our plan is that it will continue to be so. Mayor Verga was really clear this is something that he knew the city wanted and asked us if we could help with it. And so it all is feeling like the right time and the right opportunity and the right next step for us. So again, our mission is to cultivate healthy, connected, resilient communities and to fight for food sovereignty. And a farmer's market is a really obvious way to do that. And, the other like piece of that is farmers markets are maybe changing, when they first became more prevalent, now really maybe like 20 years ago in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was something we really needed for small farms to be able to continue and for more small farms to be able to exist because it's such a low barrier for folks to, to start a business basically. And a lot of our local farms were born out of farmers markets, but now are really maybe at a point where maybe farmers markets right now don't make as much sense for them. Or maybe the way farmers markets have been, historically set up, maybe they don't, but so we're excited to explore that, to really build a market that makes sense for local growers. We still believe that there's a really important need for farmers markets, but maybe the model needs like a little bit of a revisit. So we feel really equipped to do that, to take on this, what feels like a really positive challenge. So yeah, I think Backyard Growers is positioned really well to do this successfully. We feel really strongly that if we are going to do a market, we're going to do it really, really well. And so that's the goal.
So could you give me an example of how you might change the model to support local farms or, what would that look like?
Yeah. So at this point, we've been in the process of working as an organization, staff and board to really assess like the Backyard Growers' feasibility to take on the farmers market. And so there's more things to come, right? Like we just, our board just voted, we just made these decisions, but obviously we've been doing like a lot of the groundwork to make sure that it could be successful. And so we don't have specific plans for that yet, but we've started talking a lot about the things that make it challenging for growers, right? So whether it's the not knowing how much money you're going to make at a market, is the market going to get rained out? Knowing that small scale farmers are really going to base not only like their crop plans around selling at a farmer's market the year ahead when they're planning, but even the varieties that they grow and just how much work it is to go and sell at a market, especially if you don't know how much money you're going to make. And so right now we're in the stage of really doing due diligence around talking to local growers, finding out what those pain points might be, and then thinking really creatively about what we can do to lessen those pain points. So whether that's helping to mitigate risk around weather, like what happens if a farmer's market is going to get rained out and that's a lost sales opportunity, like how do we manage that on behalf of our growers so they're not taking on that financial risk to the same degree? So I don't have like a specific answer, but those are some of the things that I'm actually really, really excited about because I think that they could be really important for looking at farmers markets and the role that they play in our communities going forward.
Right. And I think what they learned was CSAs work great for them.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do all that work of carrying the produce, but that's the deficit of the inner city, communities that aren't necessarily being able to drive out once a week to pick up or anyone who just, it's not comfortable or easy for them to drive out and pick up a share.
Well, and there's pros, there's pros and cons to all of these different sales models, right? Like the thing that a farmer's market has historically offered to small scale growers is that there's a really low barrier to access. So there's always, historically there's like a small fee to be a vendor, and you can show up with your produce and, make your money, versus a CSA where you are, yes, the historical traditional model of a CSA is one where CSA shareholders are going to augment kind of like the startup costs of a farm has by paying in the beginning and things like that. But there are things that make both challenging, right? And so part of it's finding I do think that there are farms for whom a farmer's market makes the most sense. It depends on their model, their location, and also where they are at in their business development, right? Are they a new farm? Are they really well established? But often we see the progression as the farmer will start selling at a farmer's market. They're able to begin farming because of farmers markets. And then as they get more established, then they're able to have a CSA, right? And so, I think there's like a little bit of a mix. Like we can make a farmer's market. I'm confident we can make a farmer's market that will work for farmers. And then there's also finding the farmers for whom a farmer's market works, right? It's a little bit of matchmaking. And so I think having like a pretty good understanding of both of those areas is important. And then just knowing, the landscape of our local growers. And, we don't want to put a square into a circle, so to speak, right? We're really looking to set up a program that works for everybody. Like we know that there's, massive consumer desire to have a farmer's market, right? But for that to happen, it has to work for growers, and right, and vice versa. And so we see ourselves as sort of like the bridge, hopefully, right, to make that happen.
Yeah, I just think it's so interesting that the way these things work, because the Cape Ann Farmers Market was so vibrant and successful for so long, and so many of the other markets around here, but you could see the shift happening. You could see that the models were strained. And so, that you're coming at it from a different angle and trying to address that is really important.
And doing a lot of listening. Backyard Growers was born as a program of the Cape Ann Farmers Market. The Cape Ann Farmers Market set a wonderful foundation for a market in our city, right? And so a lot of the work that we've been doing has been talking to those folks, like, tell us everything that worked, tell us everything that didn't, like just doing a lot of listening. And so the plan is to continue more of that. We've been really fortunate to have people that were and are willing to information share, because we're really looking to just learn from all of this and build something. We have such a unique opportunity to like have, to learn from the past, to look to the future, and to kind of really find something that will work, right? Like we have all these resources at our disposal just in the people in our community. And so a lot of this is like a lot of listening.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest assets you have is that playground.
Yeah.
Because, farmers markets seem like great places to take kids and go as a family, but it's not great for a kid when they're just like walking along. Sometimes.
Yeah. And we're really hoping, I've been planning this for so long now, right? I have to like, often my brain's like over here, like 2025, I have to like bring it back. But like part of the thing that I envision, right, and that our org envisions is really backyard growers being really present at the farmers market. Again, having it nestled between our two gardens, and having programming like our workshops, like, opportunities to maybe even be capturing some of those children, right? And having these other things going on. Again, I have a 4.5-year-old, almost 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So I very much understand why the playground is so great. Also, just that the park is pretty contained, like it's fenced in. That's not really the case at Stage 4, definitely not at Harbor Loop, but the idea that you can show up there and kind of like let your kid loose.
Yeah. No, cool. And I did visit at your ribbon cutting ceremony, I think a year ago. And when you were established a couple of new beds, and it was back then, those gardens were just beautiful. And the community around them was like really happy and excited. So, you've already done great work, good energy in that park for sure.
Yeah, thank you. We're really proud of it. It's, every time I'm at Burnham's Field and can kind of hang out in the gardens and talk to people, it's just the conversations that happen. Everything's amazing. And it's a similar thing with the farmers market. I mean, these are community resources that bring people together and provide an opportunity for people to talk to each other, to share idea, all of these things. And that's really important. Gloucester is actually a pretty diverse city. And I think that if more people talk to each other. It just makes it a really happy place to be.
Yeah. So can you tell us some nuts and bolts, starting with, do you have a name yet?
So this is one of the things we're trying to figure out. And then maybe has been on the back burner a little bit because we've been really working on all these other things to put the market in motion. So we don't have a specific name yet. The Cape Ann Farmers Market is actually a different organization. It's a different group of people. Again, Backyard Growers was born from the Cape Ann Farmers Market. So we consider these folks to be friends of ours, but that is a specific name to that organization. And we haven't decided yet if it would make sense to see if that's a name that should live on or if we want to have a new name, or so we're not there quite yet, but I would say it'll be something locally centered. It'll be a name that reflects Cape Ann.
Great. And how do you have dates yet? A starting date, day of the week, hours?
Yeah, so we don't have those specifics yet, but we do know it will be June and that we want the market to run through Thanksgiving. So there might be tweaks, we haven't gotten to the point yet where we have like our specific vendors or things like that with whom we've had all of these discussions. But we know that we want the market to run at least from June through October. And our assumption is that it will make sense to have it reach Thanksgiving.
Great. And how about if vendors are interested in reaching out to you? Is there vendor information? It's probably not yet. Do you have a place? Will you have a place for vendor information?
We will. We don't have that yet. So right now, if anybody is interested, they should email community@backyardgrowers.org.
Great, great. So is there anything else you would like us to know about this breaking news?
Just that one of our goals with this market is that this is a place for all residents, that we really are working to make sure that food is accessible. Our plan is to be able to facilitate EBT, SNAP, all of those things. So we're really hoping that this will be a place where our community comes together and that, it will be a very mission-driven market. And we're just so excited to be able to do this with and for our community.
Well, I think we started with the Cape Ann Farmers Market. You were born out of that. Backyard Growers was born out of that. And now Backyard Growers is taking on the next farmers market. I think it's a beautiful legacy there.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Well, thank you. And stay in touch. Let us know if there are any updates. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, Heather.
Thank you. Bye. Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.